Columbia.
Yes. So anytime that you know you was going to our monkey's house, you can't visit unless you have your church closed. So you're going to church. So it was one of those, if you're visiting our monkey, you're going to church. But it was more so like only on holidays. So we had to go like Easter's and, you know, Christmas plays and grandma invited us. But our foundation wasn't in the church. We wasn't forced to go. We kind of didn't know anything about the church. But good people, kind-hearted people, you know, you think that because of your deeds that you're covered or you're okay. But
oh man, you went heavy quick.
So later on in life, that's when I had to experience what it's all about. Yeah. Man, it took me to my mid-30s.
Oh man, mid-30s.
Mid-30s.
It's good, man. That's
to discover.
Yeah. We talk about we're around the same age, so we talked about when I came in, I played basketball in this area.
Right.
And we know some of the same people, so
yeah,
we trying to put together this 40 and up men's basketball league. So
it'll be 45 and up soon,
40 and then 50 and up.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, so just the background in the church and has faith. Sounds like it was important to you early on, just from the family experience. Did that strength continue with you? Did you veer away at some point? I know we talked about the mid-30s for us.
Yes.
Seems like for a lot of guys, we kind of go out and try to do our thing, and then something gets our attention somehow, whether it's health or it could be a number of different things, but there's something around like the mid-30s that kind of wakes some guys up.
That's right.
Yes.
Did you have any kind of similar experience?
Somewhat of an experience, just going about life, learning.
Yes.
Right? And as you learn, as you grow, you start to understand that it's more than life than what you see that's in front of you. You know, sometimes we get caught up into the social media, we get caught up into the surroundings. So in this era, it's social media that's the influence. So when we grew up, it was the friends, the drug dealers, right, the rappers, just your environment. So my environment as a whole, it wasn't the typical environment that we would grow up in. So we were influenced by other things. So basketball kind of carried me in the right path, in the right direction. And me seeing family and friends that were in the church life, where they was prospering, they was moving forward, versus the family that wasn't into the church. So I think kind of early on, I had a desire in my heart, but I was too afraid to step out there. Because it wasn't considered cool.
Yeah, that's right.
It wasn't considered a thing that you do.
And maybe it's not as cool even to this day. Like it's this is these can be uncharted waters sometimes, man.
Yes. So once you mature and you understand what life is really about, then you understand that you need God in the center of your life, no matter what.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
once you pass that adult stage, that mid 25, 27, you start understanding the importance of life and family. I think we start drawing closer to God. And as you were saying earlier, some people go through traumatic events that pulls you in, where you feel like, I need the Lord. Now,
You've been around, you've experienced a whole lot. I've never seen the moment get too big for him. And beyond not letting the moment get too big for him, like even off the court, I've never seen him rattled. And now that I've seen his foundation, I know why.
Yeah. Right.
So when you were traveling the world, was there ever a moment where you came across somebody you've seen on TV and you're like legit starstruck?
Not starstruck, but it was like an unbelievable, surreal moment for me because I was a fan of the Locks. Like Jadakiss is like one of my favorites.
Yeah.
And
we gonna make it.
Yeah,
right. That's right.
So when my manager see this, he's gonna laugh because he knows my like top 3, top 4 favorites. And Jadakiss is a part of the record label that I was once a part of. And we had an event, and he was like, "Your guy's gonna be here," and I'm like, "Huh?" So Jada came and I'm like, "Wow," and I'm always calm and serious, so I'm calm, serious, speak to him. But I'm running all of his music through my head. He don't know it. I'm like, you know what I mean?
Going through the whole catalog.
Yeah, the catalog in my mind. And I'm like, man, wow. You know what I mean? A kid from South Carolina, be blessed to be in this position. to meet one of the guys that he kind of was inspired by as far as once I started the music. So I would say Jadakiss is like one of the guys, even though I came across a lot of stars that I never believed that I would meet, but he was that one.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
I mean, because you're talking about somebody like when the locks was hitting, like you talking about worldwide.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's cool. I had to ask that question, man, because I mean, you know, I've met a few famous people, you know what I mean? And you know, you be sweating a little bit, shaking the hand, your hand all wet. So that's really dope, man.
All around the world, music, ministry, like it's an incredible story. I'm looking forward to learning more about it. Just Joey said a lot about it, so. Line brothers, we're not on the same line. So I played as in '99, 2002.
That's correct.
So different lines, but we both have lost our line brothers. So here in the past 2 to 3 years. Yeah. So Joey, I'll let you tell the story real quick.
Yeah. So Jason Williams, everybody used to call him Dub, J-Dub. But yeah, Jason Bernard Williams. So and if you're not familiar with fraternities, like the group that you pledged with, you'd call them your line brothers. So on my line, there was a group of 12 of us. And Jason, it was a good size. And Jason was one of the youngest. I think he was one of the 2 freshmen. I believe he was a second semester freshman. But it's almost like if you have a house with 12 boys, those youngest 2, they just want to do what the big brothers are doing, right? So, you know, Jason was 19 at the time, but most of the guys on the line, 20, 21, some of us were right at about 22. So you got this young guy, pretty much fresh out of high school, around these guys that have experienced a whole lot of life, you know. And man, like my whole view on this thing has come full circle, you know, just at the funeral and being able to talk to some of the family and hearing from some of the people that spoke at the funeral. So me and Jason were pretty close in college. We had a lot of experiences together, but over time, like after graduation, we let that distance, because he moved up to North Carolina, we let the distance get the better of our relationship as far as communication. But yeah, man, just thinking back, you know, Jason was that younger brother, so to speak, that just bounced around. Hey, man, what's this group doing? Let's try that. What's this group doing? Let me try that for a little while. And so having the experience that I had with him in college, and then not really seeing him as he moved into, you know, husband and fatherhood, you know, being the professional in engineering, the whole thing was like, man, I just hope he pieces it together, you know. Quick story, me and Omar, which is another one of my line brothers, we had this evening where we're just shooting basketball, right? Evening on Thursday, shooting basketball, and we're doing more talking than shooting, because it was just the 2 of us, just shooting around. And we talked about the different guys on our line and kind of where they're at in life. And we talked about Jason explicitly about Jason for at least 20 minutes, right? And again, like Omar also, even though he kept up with Jason for a while after Jason moved to North Carolina, like for a few more years or so, it's been a while since he had talked to him also. So our viewpoint is just, our reference point is, you know, just young Jason bouncing around, trying this, trying that, trying this, trying that. And it's like, man, we just, you know, again, we just hope he put it all together. And it was that weekend, man, that we found out that Jason had passed. Like his brother put something online on Facebook, and I mean, it was just jaw dropping. It's like, dude, we were just talking about him, and on top of that, it's like neither one of us reached out to him right after we talked about him for so long. And so yeah, man. So fast forward, we go to the funeral up in North Carolina. We ended up being kind of involved in the funeral. One light moment. They opened up the floor for anybody who had remarks. And Marcus was sitting next to me. I looked at Marcus like, this could be dangerous.
Then on my side, so Nick Miles was my line brother that passed, really pandemic time. So it's probably been 2 years, maybe 3 years, lose track of the time. But we had a pretty big line as well. So I was the 17 on the line. You know, they line you up by height. So they, you know, passed me down. They're like, you go that way, you go. So I ended up 17. Nick was number 16 on the line. So I'm 6'3", he was 6'1" or so, 6'2". Had some height on him, so we were right beside each other. What a lot of people don't know is I probably would not have been on my line had it not been for Nick.
Oh,
Yeah, so before we joined the frat, we worked together at Just for Feet, selling shoes. You know, I'm a kid, right? 17, selling shoes. I met Nick as well as his twin sister, Nicole, and we just became like the best of friends, so almost like family. And so I just happened to be talking to Nick one day, and we just got into just fraternity talk and, you know, just casual conversation. Like 2 days later, he was like, "Hey, man, remember we were talking?" I was like, yeah. He's like, "It's going down." I'm like, okay. So I actually rolled to the informational with Nick. So in the car together, I didn't know what I was doing, getting myself into. He said, "You sit here for a few minutes, I'm gonna go in first." I sat for a few minutes and I walked in and "Hey, what's up?" spoke to him. Like I didn't just ride up there with him. But Nick was a big brother to me, man. He was, I was the youngest on this line. You talk about Jason being pretty young. You know, I was 17 turning 18. But we were on the line with, 19, 20, 21. So I was a kid to everybody else. But Nick was really like a big brother. We worked a whole lot. And so I was like the glue that kind of kept a lot of people together. And so whenever people needed to get to Nick, it's like you got to talk to Jeremy to get to Nick. But Nick was one of those guys, man. I just, you feel safer when some people are around. He was like, if I knew he was around and anything would ever happen, he was gonna have my back, and we would ask questions later. I remember we did a death march, and this is right before we crossed. I think
you explain what a death march is?
we did a march on the campus. We did a march right before you cross. It goes back decades, but Nick actually went to Aiken to get his dad's truck, and I was driving his Beretta at the time. Anybody who knew Nick knew that he loved his cars, and you couldn't tell me anything, man. I was like this 17, 18-year-old kid in this red Beretta, burgundy Beretta with these 17-inch rims, and my car had put me down. That was pretty common for me back then. But he was like, "You know what, don't worry about it." And so I didn't realize until later on how big of a deal that was. Like, no, he loved his cars. And so but the fact that he actually let you, a kid, hold it, don't even worry about it, just kind of spoke to the kind of person that he was.
Yeah.
So, yeah, one of my best friends, definitely. I'm close to pretty much all my line brothers. But we were close in proximity. He was right here beside me. So that gap is always going to be there.
Whereas, and then it's me fasting every other day.
Yes.
The key thing, hydrate.
Yes.
And my kids know I keep my bottles and not just my water. So, it's just what I do.
You that guy that carry around the big gallon jug?
My wife told me to stop.
I was that guy too. I was that guy. It was like, it was 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. It's like,
my wife said, "You take this thing to work." I was like, I ain't think nothing was wrong with it. So, and nobody said, or maybe they was laughing at me.
We're probably not laughing now.
Yeah, no. And I tell you, the one key thing is that people look at me now and they remember when I looked a lot different, and they're like, he's still keeping kind of the same. Yeah. So that in itself is, it's a blessing in itself. So
basic. So I remember you 295 knocking on 300 at one point. This was early in the journey.
Yeah.
Where are you now, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah. So I lean around 234, 238.
Okay.
Right now. And occasionally I'll bump down. It just depends on where I'm at. Now during this time of year where I do more cardio, I'll stay below 235-ish and stay between 234, 232.
Okay.
Which is great. Yeah. Which is great. Because I feel good.
Yeah. So Is it difficult to stay at this size, or do you find it tough to, people always like, you lose a bunch of weight, everybody's watching
you to get it back. Yeah.
It's like, here we go. All right, how long have you been? So is it easy? Is it difficult? Like,
I tell you what happens, because I have a moment. So during this time, it's not difficult because it's nice outside. I can go outside. I do my cardio. I walk. The more difficult times are the winter months when you're at home, and then it's the holiday season, and then it's Christmas, and everybody bringing stuff in the office.
Yeah.
And it's actually not as difficult if you are mindful of what you're taking in, because what happens is like the sweets and the sugar. If I stay off the sweets, it's a non-issue.
Yes.
I'm just like, I just continue without even thinking about it.
Yeah.
But this is the thing. When we were doing this, Jeremy's like, you have that day where you have it, and you just go right back to it the next day.
Gotcha.
And that's exactly the mentality I take. Like, oh, okay, I had it. So the next day and then I'll go weeks, a month. Now it's a few months now. Oh, I didn't really notice. So it has it has its ups and downs.
Yeah.
The thing is, you have to keep yourself mindful that the path you're on.
Yeah.
The journey you're on. So that's the key thing. Just staying focused. And like probably November-ish, was doing like some light weights.
Okay.
Just some lifting and some light weights.
Okay.
So I started to kind of get a little bit of the muscle back.
You can tell it's
Yeah, and I can just, and I'm not trying to lift to be like back when I was playing football in college. Like, I'm not trying to bench press 350, 400, like that. I'm just trying to something to get a little strength back.
Yeah.
So that's all. I said, let me do a little bit, because my supervisor told me, hey man, you're getting small, but can you build a muscle back? So
It's Gina, my wife, told me I was getting too small.
Yeah.
My sister like grabbed me one day and like kinda
Yeah.
and she's like, "That's enough. That's enough."
Yeah.
So I got back on the weights myself.
One of my aunties did that to me. Like, hey, you ain't threw me around like that since I was a kid. So, yeah.
That's cool, man.
Good.
Now, so you've touched on the refereeing a few times.
Mm-hmm.
Just give us a couple of cool stories, man. Like anything that comes to mind, man.
Oh,
Because,
man.
You're talking to former athletes, but we've never worn a referee hat. You know what I mean? So what you got, man?
I can tell you this. With a crew I had 2 years ago, we had a really big game. That was a marquee game in our conference, and whoever the winner of this game was going to be, it was a televised game, and that team was going on to the championship,
Yes.
the conference championship. And so we had a lot of guys was uptight, and typically how my parents, of course my parents, folks know when your parents saved, what that means. They know about God. And so like the way I've handled stuff when things are difficult, or when I feel like, hey, there's some pressure and I just need like something to break me through. Typically I take it to prayer and I take it to God, and that's usually how I handle everything. And I do that with everything. If I got a big meeting, if I got a big speech, if I got to send out a big email to folks, I'll pray on anything.
Yes.
I don't care how small it is. And so I had all my crewmates, there's 8 of us, it's 8-man crew in college, and everybody was uptight and tense, and we was like, yeah, we gotta do our job, we can't mess up, and everybody was so worried about messing up, and we were doing all of our pregame checks, meeting with the administration, meeting with coaches and all that other stuff, and I could still feel like that tense, and you can almost cut how thick everybody was uptight. And so we normally all get together and somebody prays before, and we got together before the game, before we went out. We had a little extra time, and I asked everybody we went around, everybody kind of said our last things, like what to remember before we go out. One guy may say, hey, let's keep communications, let's talk to players. One guy was like, hey, let's just make sure, ball boys are back, and, we take control of the game when we get, officials, we get ready like players.
Yeah.
And so when it got to me to say mine, I was like, you know what, guys? I said something, they didn't have nothing to do with football, but it did have to do something, and I didn't know everybody's belief. And I told them the quick story about the Battle of Jericho.
Mm.
And I said, in biblical sense, God had officials, when there were big events in the Bible. And God, during the Battle of Jericho, before they took the city, they sent spies in. Mm-hmm. and those spies came up against angels of the Lord. And those angels of the Lord, I felt, were like officials. The spies were afraid of the angels of the Lord, but they asked the angels of the Lord, who are you with? Are you, with us, or are you with the enemy? And they said, the angels of the Lord told them, we're not with either. We're just here to ensure that the battles fought fairly and correctly. And I was like, they just grabbed me. And I told the officials that. I said, hey, what you do today, it is represented in the Bible and, of officials. Officials, we're there to keep, things together. We're there to keep the peace. We're there to keep the fairness of the game. We're just like those angels of the Lord. And I said, if you ever get nervous out there today, just go into this game knowing that all you're there to do is your job. And as an official, keep the peace, keep the fairness. We're not there for either side. And, if you focus on just doing your job, everything else will be handled okay. And then, I seen in the eyes finally, like, everybody was like, I felt like the calmness. And I don't know if those guys need to hear that word. And then we prayed. And I told every one of those guys, because we were on a crew together, all of us. And I said, hey, I love you guys. It's a national televised game. Forget that. Let's just go out here. Forget everybody out here. Let's work the game. We went out there and worked the game. And I don't know if we was observed, but a lot of our peers watched us on TV and we got so many calls, and guys were like, hey man, y'all worked a great game.
Really?
Y'all worked a good game. And everybody was like, Hefney, that was all you, man. Because he's like, I don't know why I was out there. I forgot about everything else. I was like, hey man, sometimes you just need something like that to just break it, ease it, and let you go out there and do your job.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Angel of the Lord, Battle
Yeah,
of
man.
Jericho, Joshua,
Yeah.
Old
Yeah.
Testament theology.
man.
Great story.
Nobody
Great
knew.
story.
Now that people gonna be searching for football officials in the Bible. Just remember, talk to them biblically. Yeah, Christ-like.
That's right. That's right.